In this video, I'll show you how to install BDRSuite Remote Proxy and add remote hosts for backup. First, let's cover the prerequisites. Remote Proxy is mandatory for backup environments where hypervisor hosts, VMware, Hyper-V, are distributed across various locations, such as branch offices, and connected to the central backup server via WAN. In these scenarios, Remote Proxy ensures that remote hosts are effectively connected to the backup server, enabling reliable backups regardless of their location. You can install Remote Proxy on any machine that has access to the hypervisors and ensure your firewall rules permit port 32004. Open the BDRSuite Backup Server console. Enter the username, password, and click Sign In. Navigate to the Data Sources menu and select BDR Proxy, then click on Remote Proxy. Click the Add Remote Proxy button, and a dialog box will appear with instructions for installing and setting up Remote Proxy. First, click the Download button to obtain the Remote Proxy installer. Be sure to copy the installer to the target Windows machine where you plan to perform the installation. Now, let me guide you through the Remote Proxy installation process, step by step. Right-click on the installer and click Install. Then, click Run to proceed. You'll see the welcome screen. Click Next to continue the installation. Read the agreement and choose I accept. Click Next. Enter the backup server's DNS name or IP address. Once the Remote Proxy is installed, it will automatically connect to the backup server using these details. Click Next. Select the typical option to proceed with the default installation settings and click Next. If the default installation settings are suitable, click Install. Otherwise, click back to customize the settings. Let me walk you through the Custom option one by one. First, installing the Remote Proxy as a Windows service is recommended. Click Next. Then, select the Windows Logon account for the Remote Proxy installation. You can use the local system account. However, it is recommended to use a user account with administrative privileges. Enter the credentials and click Next. Click Browse to select a new installation location, and then click Next. You can use the default Remote Proxy console login, admin for both username and password, or customize it as needed. Finally, review your installation settings and click Install. Remote Proxy components are now being installed. This might take a few minutes. Let us wait for the installation to complete. Remote Proxy is now successfully installed. Click Finish to start the BDRSuite services. Then, Remote Proxy will automatically connect to the backup server using the DNS or IP address provided during installation. This may take a few minutes. Meanwhile, you can verify and manage the Remote Proxy from the Tray or Services panel on your Windows machine. After successful connection, you can view the Remote Proxy listed on the backup server under the Data Sources menu and manage it from there. Let us now look into how to add and manage remote hypervisor hosts on the Remote Proxy. Open the BDRSuite Remote Proxy console. Enter the username, password, and click Sign In. You'll land on the dashboard page. First, let me show you how to add VMware ESXi and vCenter server. To add VMware host, you'll need the DNS name or IP address of the vCenter server or standalone ESXi host you want to back up. Make sure you have credentials with root permissions. By default, BDRSuite uses port 443 to communicate with ESXi and vCenter server. Click the Add ESXi and vCenter server button. In this video, I'll add an ESXi host. Enter the DNS or IP address of the ESXi host. Then, select the credential. If it's not already added, you can quickly do so by clicking Add Credential. Finally, click Save. Now, the ESXi host is successfully added as a data source for backup on the Remote Proxy. The host details will sync automatically with the backup server, but you can also manually sync them by clicking Sync icon. Head over to the Backup Server console, where you'll find the ESXi host listed under the Data Sources menu. In the Managed By column, you'll see the Remote Proxy name to identify hosts added to it. Let us now look into how to add a backup proxy for VMware Backup. A backup proxy is an optional component that helps reduce the load on your backup server. It handles tasks like retrieving VM data and sends it to the backup repository. One of the main benefits of the backup proxy is enabling LAN-free data transfer. By deploying it on a virtual machine with access to the VM disks, the proxy can retrieve data directly from the data store in hot add mode, bypassing the LAN. This setup enables efficient VMware backup while reducing the load on the backup server. If hot add isn't possible, the proxy can still transfer data over the network. Make sure your firewall's rules allow port 32004. Click on Add Backup Proxy button. Choose Manual Agent Installation, which is the recommended method to add backup proxy. Click Download to get the backup proxy installer. For a step-by-step video on manual agent installation of backup proxy, check out the link in the description. Upon successful installation, the backup proxy will be listed on the remote proxy. The host details will sync automatically with the backup server. You can then head over to the backup server, where you'll find the backup proxy listed under the Data Sources menu. In the Managed By column, you'll see Remote Proxy Name to identify hosts added to it. Now that your hosts and proxies are added, you're ready to configure backups for your VMware VMs. Navigate to the Backup Configure Backup Virtual Machines menu and click on VMware vSphere. On the Basic Job Details page, select the Remote Proxy in the Data Sources Managed By field. This will display the hosts added to the remote proxy on the next page, where you can select them for backup. When you reach the Advanced Settings page in the Backup Configuration, you'll see an option to enable and assign a backup proxy for the job. Select the backup proxy you want to use for this job and proceed. For a detailed video on VMware backup configuration, check out the link in the description. Next, let me show you how to add a Hyper-V host for backup. You'll need the DNS name or IP address of the Hyper-V cluster, Hyper-V standalone, or SMB server you want to backup. You'll need either a credential with domain administrator or administrator privilege, or a user with administrator permissions. Make sure the firewall rules permit 42005 port. Click on Add Microsoft Hyper-V button. In this video, I'm adding a Hyper-V standalone host. Enter the Hyper-V host DNS name or IP address. Next, select the credential. If you haven't set this up yet, just click Add Credential. A dialog box will pop up. Enter a credential display name, then the Hyper-V host username and password, and save it. The added credential is now automatically selected. In the Max Concurrent Tasks field, specify the number of tasks that the Microsoft Hyper-V host must handle in parallel. Once you entered all the details, click Save. Next, click on OK, Proceed. BDRSuite will now install integration service on the target Hyper-V host. Upon successful installation, the Hyper-V host will be added as a data source for backup on the remote proxy. The host details will sync automatically with the backup server, but you can also manually sync them by clicking the Sync icon. Then, head over to the backup server, where you'll find the host listed under the Data Sources menu. In the Managed By column, you'll see Remote Proxy Name to identify hosts added to it. Now that your hosts are added, you're ready to configure backups. Navigate to the Backup, Configure Backup, Virtual Machines menu and click on Microsoft Hyper-V. On the Basic Job Details page, select the Remote Proxy in the Data Sources Managed By field. This will display the hosts added to the remote proxy on the next page, where you can select them for backup. For a detailed step-by-step video on configuring Hyper-V backup and recovery, check out the link in the description box. Now it's your turn to give it a try. Visit our website to start your free trial, and if you need any assistance, contact BDR Support. Thanks for watching.